Hello everyone. Early voting has already started, so hey, I advise everybody to get out and vote. When you go vote, you will need ID. You can use your driver's license, your military license, or your passport, things like this. In this video, I will cover the races that I believe are the most significant. Paul, please tell them the important races.
The significant races include U.S. President, U.S. Senator, U.S. Representative District 2, and U.S. Representative District 18 special election. Also U.S. Representative District 18 for the next term. Our first race to cover is U.S. President, Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. Bizarrely enough, there is no challenger or incumbent. Frankly, the constitutionality of these candidates is quite loose. Harris is the current vice president. Her major issues or policies are affordable health care, reproductive rights, and her A New Way Forward initiative focuses on economic reform. Trump is the former president. His major issues or policies are immigration, border security, and his Agenda 47 is focused on economic reform. Mr. Lewis will give commentary and added information.
So, the race for United States President is between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, Trump, he's a felon. And people are going to say, well, Kamala, she's a unelected bureaucrat. Who voted for her? Who voted for her? Which I can't fight that. All that's technically true. It's all true. Hey. But hey, this is a perfect example why we need primary elections. You know, both sides talking about this is a threat to democracy. Well, we need primary elections. That's what it comes down to. So I'm not going to talk about the character of neither one of these candidates. If we want to get on that, in my opinion, I would prefer Barack Obama for a third time. But hey, we're going to get to the important part about these candidates. We're going to talk about the policy, and that's what some people came here for, talk about policy, especially economics. So let's move on to that. And I will be utilizing some videos from a video from Wall Street Journal and also from a creator named Shaman, my CPA coach, because I find these sources unbiased, especially Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal is about business. So I'm going to use these sources and, to keep everybody, stimulated and not to make the video so boring, because I know policy could be a little boring. So I want to say fair use. I'm using these videos for educational purposes. So, hey, follow those creators. I'm going to have it in the description so you can follow these creators, the Wall Street Journal and Shaman. So we're going to get started with the videos. Enjoy.
Donald Trump's and Kamala Harris's tax policies are on completely different tracks.
I will pass gigantic tax cuts for workers and keep their jobs here in the United States.
Billionaires and big corporations must pay their fair share in taxes.
Trump has a whole range of tax cuts that he's looking to implement, and he's proposing to raise tariffs significantly, which could help cover some of those costs. Harris, on the other hand, has a bunch of tax cuts and then is proposing trillions of dollars of tax increases, mostly on corporations and high-income households. But they're running in different directions, reshaping who pays taxes in America.
So the first major component of Trump's tax proposal is to first make his initial tax cuts permanent. This includes keeping the higher standard deduction amounts, lower individual tax rates, and I also assume it will extend the QBI tax deduction for small businesses as well. But in addition to making these tax cuts permanent, there are several more tax proposals in Trump's tax plan. such as exempting tip income from taxes completely. It is also reported that he wants Social Security benefits to be exempt from taxes as well, which will greatly help people looking to retire or who have already retired. Recently announced by Trump is his plan to eliminate tax on overtime pay, which would be big for the millions of taxpayers who work long hours and earn overtime, such as nurses, construction workers, factory workers, and so much more. Now, the next potential tax proposal under Trump's tax plan involves increasing the child tax credit. Trump's vice president nominee, J.D. Vance, has made comments around increasing the child tax credit to up to $5,000 per child. Now, over the last few years, we have seen the child tax credit range from $2,000 to $3,600 per child, so this would be a nice increase for eligible families. It's also proposing to decrease the corporate income tax again. Under his tax plan, the corporate income tax rate would be reduced from 21% to 20%, and in some cases, it could even be as low as 15%. Now, as an incentive to encourage corporations to produce their products in the US instead of abroad, he wants to lower the corporate tax rate to 15% for corporations that make their products in the US. Kamala Harris has stated that her administration will ensure that no one earning less than $400,000 per year will pay any more taxes, which implies to me that they may keep some of the 2017 tax cuts, such as the standard deduction, for example. The second thing going on here is that Kamala Harris also announced a new tax plan that in many ways differs from the tax proposal originally proposed by President Biden. She is proposing to provide a $25,000 tax credit for first-time homebuyers. Now, for context, President Biden initially proposed a $10,000 tax credit for first-time homebuyers, so this reflects a $15,000 increase from his plan. Now, another big tax proposal in her plan is increasing the child tax credit up to $6,000 for families with newborn children specifically. And then for business owners and investors, she is increasing the new business startup deduction to $50,000, which could save business owners thousands of dollars in taxes. This could motivate W-2 employees to create side businesses because this deduction could create a loss that then offsets some of their W-2 or other income. And Kamala Harris's plan specifically relies on increasing taxes on high-income individuals and businesses. And if that's you, don't worry, I'll also give you some tips to reduce your tax exposure here. Okay, so first off, for businesses, she is proposing to increase the corporate income tax rate from 21% up to 28%. But let's also talk about investors. She is proposing to increase the long-term capital gains tax rate from 20% to 28% for individuals with taxable income above $1 million. Yeah, so let's talk about her plan for individual tax rates. She is proposing to increase the top individual tax rate to 39.6% on incomes above $400,000 for single filers and $450,000 for joint filers.
Our second race to cover is U.S. Senator for Texas. Each state has 2 senators in the U.S. Congress. This race is between the challenger Colin Allred versus incumbent Ted Cruz. Texas is still a Republican state. However, because of Ted Cruz's unpopularity, this is a winnable race for Colin Allred. Allred is currently a U.S. representative of the 32nd District of Texas. His major issues or policies are affordable health care, reproductive rights, immigration, and jobs. His slogan is standing up to extremists in both parties. Cruz is the incumbent. His major issues or policies are immigration, border security, and economic reform. Cruz is promoting his record on Texas jobs, school choice, expanding Texas infrastructure, and championing 2A. Mr. Lewis will give commentary and added information.
Well, as Paul said, this race is up for grabs. Cruz is very unpopular with the people, I say, in Texas. It's one incident that is ringing in everybody's mind that is why Cruz is so unpopular. But hey, I won't speak on it. I'll let this video speak on it.
Takeaways from last night's debate.
They went at it pretty fierce, as you saw in that clip. You know, Colin Allred, he's a congressman, first elected in 2018, flipped a Dallas area congressional seat from Republican Pete Sessions. And he's the latest great hope for Democrats to try to win a statewide race in Texas since 1994. And the way to do that, he feels like, is to go at Ted Cruz head on. Now, Ted Cruz is known as a great debater. And so Allred's mission was to go in there, make the contrast, but to be tough and project that it's time to send Ted Cruz home. And he wanted to do that by appealing to independents and Republicans who are predisposed to maybe vote against Cruz. Maybe they're Republicans, maybe they don't like Cruz. And that was his job last night, was to try to appeal to those voters.
Another spicy moment in the debate, Congressman Allred brought up Senator Cruz's trip to Cancun during the 2021 energy crisis in Texas. Let's listen to that.
But you're not actually there when people need you, like when the lights went out. When 30 million Texans were relying on a senator to spring into action, he went to Cancun. That's who he is. If you give me the chance to be your United States Senator, I'll never abandon you.
Gromer, as you accurately said, Colin Allred is the latest of, so far, unrealized Democratic hopes, lots of money behind it, lots of aspirations, never realized since 1994 to win statewide. What's the state of the race, and what effect, if any, do you think last night's debate may have?
It's a single-digit race. One of the latest polls show it a 4-point race. Some polls have had it as close as 1 point. So it's a close race. You know, Beto O'Rourke in 2018 came within 2.6 percentage points of beating Cruz. That's pretty tight. And so a single-digit race is what we expected.
Our third race to cover is U.S. Rep for District 2. This race is between the challenger Peter Filler versus incumbent Dan Crenshaw. Either candidate's really offered any positions, and Peter Filler's campaign website was quite uninformative. If Filler would spend more time on his campaign, his website, and policies rather than attacking Crenshaw and trying to compare him with Ted Cruz, maybe he would be doing okay in the polls. I said what I said.
He said what he said. You know, unfortunately, this is one of the tactics nowadays to, you know, connect your political opponent with somebody that's unpopular. You know, he tries to connect Dan Crenshaw with Ted Cruz, but Dan Crenshaw is nothing like Ted Cruz. You know, Dan Crenshaw is one that is very respected. And Ted Cruz is one that's not liked by even some Republicans, you know. So, but Dan Crenshaw is different, you know. So I just say this: I am an independent, and you know, I select people off of policy, and you know, character filters into that as well. You know, I'm trying to pick who's the best person. So, you know, if you don't like the information, hey, you know, maybe this information not for you. So, Dan Crenshaw, let's look at this. He actually was endorsed by the Houston Chronicle. The headline for the Houston Chronicle says, Dan Crenshaw not coddling Democrats or Republicans. He's looking for solutions. So, as I said before, I am an independent. So the next race we're going to talk about was someone that involves Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. She is one that is very beloved in the Houston area. She served for many years, and unfortunately she has passed. So this is why we having a special election for her seat, and also we're having a regular election for the next term.
walk us through it.
Yeah, Reka, for voters in the 18th Congressional District, they'll be voting twice in the November election for the same position. One race, however, is for a temporary spot. The late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee represented the 18th Congressional District for nearly 3 decades. This November, she was up for re-election. Now that it's left vacant, these are the Democratic candidates going after that seat. The Harris County Democratic Party will convene August 13 to vote for one of them to be Jackson Lee's replacement. However, this November election is going to be a little different.
This November, residents of Congressional District 18 will vote in 2 elections.
Mark Jones, a political science professor at Rice University, explains that the first is a general election for the full 2-year term starting in January. The second, announced by Governor Abbott tonight, is a special election to fill the seat temporarily until the full term begins in January.
Our fourth race to cover is the regular election for the U.S. Rep for District 18. As mentioned, this seat is open. This race is between the Lana Centons versus Sylvester Turner. Centon's website did not have policies. However, Turner's issues and policies include getting federal funds for Texas, protect women and families, reproductive rights, also passing the George Floyd Justice Bill, and protecting the Affordable Care Act. Turner will have an advantage in this race from being a former mayor of Houston. Next up is the special election for the U.S. Rep for District 18. This candidate will finish out the remainder of the current term. This race is a 3-way between Maria Dunn and Kevin Durrell and Erica Lee Carter in the heavily Democratic district. Sheila Jackson Lee's daughter, Erica Lee Carter, will be the only Democrat on the ballot seeking to finish the late Congresswoman's term. Dunn did not have any policies. Durrell policies and issues are strong economy, secure borders, and immigration reform. Carter's policies and issues are women and families, education, and health care.
Well, good people, we're coming to the end of our video, but before you all go, we have one more thing I want to cover. The Harris County Flood Control Preposition A. So this is, about raising taxes to help with the infrastructure to help better control flooding and things like that. Thank you all for watching. Y'all have a great day.